taking a look at Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, specifically the multiplayer of Advanced Warfare, because I think that's what everyone's more interested in. Of course, I could talk about the single player and all its limitations, but all we really need to know about that is that it's a much longer campaign than what you'd expect. The writing is also what you'd expect. It's a very silly action movie, but it's very satisfying to play if you're into that sort of thing. Just be aware that there is FOV issues. That's all that you really need to know about the single player. Really. The bulk of the multiplayer is, I think, the biggest point of contention with Call of Duty, because either they get it right with this title, or they get it very far wrong and have it go the way of ghosts, and thankfully, everything's a lot better than what you might expect. Now, I'm just going to jump straight in here and talk about the actual player customization and the class, creator class system and all that. If you'd like to see the gameplay, I'll leave an annotation on the screen so you can actually just skip straight ahead to it and not have to worry about all this. But if you are interested in this, then please do stay around or stick around, and I will explain the rest of it to you. So the menus themselves are a little bit clunky. As far as PC ports go, though, it is pretty good, but control-wise, it could be better for the menus. There's a lot of PC-specific stuff which doesn't seem to work so well, like alt-tabbing and things don't work that well. But anyway, just going into the options menu. Video options, there's a couple of interesting things here. Display modes go up to windowed and full-screen borderless, or windowed borderless if you want to call it that. There's a colorblind filter, which is nice to have. I've actually tried using this, and I'm not colorblind, but I suppose it probably would work. It's nice that it's there. Paintball effects, on or off. This just turns the blood to yellow if you'd rather have it look like a paintball park. It's just a novelty feature, really. And we're going to advanced video settings, and the first thing you're going to see is FOV slider. Now, I'm not a person that is big on FOV sickness, or you know, the motion sickness or the headaches that people can sometimes complain about when they see things in a very narrow FOV. I will say that I get a bit of eye strain. But it's not a huge deal because I get that from a lot of FPS games anyway, so I do tend to play for a lot shorter bursts at times. However, playing with a lower field of view can sometimes also make you have a bit of a disadvantage because you can't see to the left and right if you've got less peripheral vision. But all things considered, you know, it goes from 65 to 90. Not great. I know some people might want 120 or so, but 90 is still better than nothing, although I will say playing it at 90 does cause some blurring around the edges of the screen, which is not ideal at all. Also, it keeps resetting itself every once in a while. I don't know what causes it, but it just sometimes reverts back to 65 and I have to change it in-game. Quite annoying. Anyway, so there's a whole host of options, texture resolution stuff, just to prove to you guys that I'm running this at high. So if the game does look a bit spotty at places, that's not because I've turned the texture resolution down, it is actually at high here. There's isotropic filtering. There's options to cache some of the shadow maps. These are stuff that are stuck out throughout the game. They're not they're not dynamic or anything. They don't, you know, they are pretty much static. And there's also things like subsurface scattering, stuff that you don't really know what it does, but it's there, you know. And there's a nice little explanation on the top right of what it does, so, you know, different types of ambient occlusion and stuff, that's all very good. There's a lot of options, I gotta say, there's a lot of options. Very happy with what I'm seeing down here. Anyway, so that's the video options. Audio options, there's only one master volume. I would have liked to have different sliders for, you know, music and all that, or it's just all on and off, which is okay, but I would rather have volume options for that. Controls, don't need to go into that. There's voice, and as you can see, my mic is already being picked up right now, but there's push to talk, and you have the option to mute all permanently, which is a very useful feature. I don't know how many people are big on voice chat in Call of Duty, but I don't use it, and I'd rather it not be there at all, but I just mute it anyway, just to be, you know, especially for recording purposes. So, now we're going to have a look at the classes. So these are the custom classes that I've created. You do get the 5 default ones at the beginning, but it's not displayed here because you can't choose them. But you do get 10 slots in total. I assume these are unlocked at later stages, but I haven't unlocked them yet, and I'm already about 32 hours into the game. So that tells you quite a bit. Right, so I'm just going to clear one class completely, and show you what we're on about. Okay, so we have on the main screen down here, we have this 13 points. Now, this is a variation of Black Ops 2's Pick 10 system. So, the Pick 10 system was you have 10 points to allocate to different slots. You can choose what you want in there, and each one will cost you a point each, and so on and so forth. Now you have Pick 13, and the reason is because there's more things to pick from. So you can't have one of everything, but even if you do try to have one of everything, filling up the 13 still has, you know, space for mods and all that, so if you want to specialize, you're gonna have to sacrifice a few things. So let's go with primary weapon first. We've got choice of all different assault weapons. I am actually at the maximum rank, short of prestige, so I have unlocked all of the weapons. So I can show you everything. So these are some of the weapons that you get at the beginning. You've got the Bal 27, which is this assault rifle. Quite a handsome looking thing, and the AK, a few others, and they basically tell you what they're best at in their particular class. So this is best in class fire rate, and all of the weapons, because this is a futuristic setting, they all have different effects, so some of them are quite interesting. For example, this one, as you fire for longer periods of time, it actually increases its fire rate. Not significantly, but enough for you to notice that it's firing faster. The IMR over here, this actually has a 4-round burst instead of the typical 3-round, but it actually prints round to the ammo reserves. In other words, the ammo reserve, or the reserve ammo that you have, regenerates over time. So if you stop firing for a period of time, you'll never run out of ammo, essentially, unless you're constantly firing. It's not fast, but it's good enough for you to not run out of ammo, so it's quite a useful feature. And this is, of course, a semi-automatic weapon. And all of these weapons also have a special variant, which I'll get onto later on. Same with the submachine guns, they all have different ones. For example, the KF5 has a 5-round... The first 5 rounds in each magazine have more damage. So if you fire 5 rounds and reload, you're going to have increased damage all the way. Of course, you know, tactical situation arising, the way you don't do that or do that. It's up to you, but the point is there's special features for most of the weapons. Some of them don't have any particular features, like the MP11, no particular perk or anything in that. The ASM1 actually increases accuracy and lowers its fire rate at the same time over a period of time, so if you're firing fully automatic, it'll start to get more accurate. Interesting feature, honestly. And all sorts of things. There's sniper rifles, you get the point. A lot of these weapons are they're not your typical weapons. I think what Sledgehammer has done with this particular title is taken all of the old Call of Duty stuff with the weapons and kind of made its own spin on them, and it's done quite well actually. Like, for example, this sniper rifle, the first round explodes only when the second round hits nearby, so it's 2 rounds have to fire in unison in order for it to work. It's a very interesting feature. So all of these are very interesting weapons, and there's also the introduction of directed energy weapons, which are beam weapons. For example, the EM1 is a constant beam of energy. In other words, it's a laser cannon. That's the easiest way of describing it. It's a laser cannon. This one is a dual-wielded heavy machine gun, which is sort of arm-mounted machine guns. And this is another energy weapon, although I believe this is pulsed instead. So all of the energy weapons actually don't have any ammo, but they can overheat, and then they'll need to be cooled off before they can fire. I'm still on the fence as whether I consider these slightly overpowered or not, because in some cases they seem to be. There doesn't seem to be any way to counter them effectively other than using them yourself. But in other cases, it feels like they're the same as other weapons. I'm not really too sure yet. As whether they're that or not. And of course, riot shields make their way back again. You can actually deploy this on the ground and use it as a barricade. And of course, you have a grenade launcher. So all of these weapons, let's say, now we can actually pick. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill this up with a couple of select weapons. And you can see right here, each one has used 1 point, and we can actually put attachments on these. Of course, these are weapons I've not actually unlocked any attachments for, because I have not used them at all. So we'll switch over to something I have, and let's put that and that on it. So each of these now have used 1 perk each, so if I clear it, I've actually received my points back, rather. And I've put them on cost points. So you can see that's part of the so-called perks, point system. Same with the perks as well. If I want to put a perk on, I have to spend points on them. So if I put these particular perks on them, these are 1 point each. If I want to, I can actually augment these with another wildcard. So I've got 3 wildcard slots here, each costing 1 point each. I can actually take Primary Gunfighter, for example, and I can put a 3rd attachment on. Or if I put perk 1 Greed, I can actually get a 2nd first perk. So that's actually a lot of definitely a lot of versatility in the choice. The next thing, this is quite interesting actually, is the kill streaks have been replaced with something called score streaks. So in the case of objective-based maps or game modes, no longer will you have people trying to kill to get the kill streaks and ignoring the objectives. Playing the objective will get you your score. And that score streak, if you reach that certain amount of points within your lifetime, that particular lifetime, you get that score streak unlocked, and it can be used at any point in time. So, for example, if I select a UAV, this works exactly the same as it used to in the past, except that they're stackable now. So, if one person calls in a UAV, you can see enemies on the map. The second UAV called in by another player will show enemy facing directions, and the third one will actually spot them on the map, so you can actually stack these up. Correct me if I'm wrong, those are the effects, but I believe you can have up to 3 UAVs operating at one time. And these are customizable, so I can actually change them to have more assist points. I can have them stay around longer. I can actually scramble minimaps, so like in the counter UAVs in the past, show enemy directions. I can even have these off. These are off at default, actually, so I can actually add a lot of these things on. So if I put, let's say I put speed and threat detection on, it now goes up to 750. What this means is that instead of using points, for example, if I clear these, it's still 8 points on my pick 13, but the actual UAV now costs 750 points to unlock. So there's a lot of versatility here. I can actually replace this with a bombing run, and I can customize that, have an additional bomber. I can have it drop care packages at the chosen site. I can have it be stealth. So there's a lot of different options there. The next thing I want to show you is the operator menu, and this is where the player menu was before. So you can see things like challenges, you can see things like your player card, and you can design your own emblems. So I've made emblems here as well. These are similar to how it worked in previous games, and also in Battlefield, for example. I actually have an emblem editor, so I can actually create any emblem I want very quickly, and I can actually just customize that, and that can be an emblem if I wanted to. So you can make all sorts of emblems. You have different cards that you can unlock. So all of this, very much like how it was in previous games, like in Modern Warfare and Black Ops 2, all of that is still there. The next thing is the way Prestige works. Now, the Prestige mode unlocks after reaching rank 50, which I will find out more about later on, because I'm not too familiar exactly with the Prestige mode in Call of Duty. I've not played a lot of Call of Duty games in the past, so the Prestige itself, I believe there are up to 15 ranks of Prestige, but each one having 50 ranks in between total, so it depends. But there are rewards for going through them over and over again as well. Okay, the next thing, you might have seen this revolving up here, these new items. Now these are items that appear after playing matches. The Bloodshed helmet with this timing at the top, this is a time limited item, and this is one of the fewer items that is unlocked based on your previous round performance. So, having played a round of deathmatch, for example, or team deathmatch, if you did particularly well, for example, getting 5 headshots, you get a Headhunter helmet, which is a different variant of this. And they all have a 30-minute time limit. Now, you notice it's not ticking down now, but that just means that it's not ticking down when it's in the menus, if I'm in an actual match and I'm playing, but I'm not using this helmet, it'll still tick down regardless. So it's one of those items that's given to you if you choose to use it. Over here is an elite weapon. This comes from the supply drop. So, of course, not to be confused with care packages, that's not a supply drop. Supply drops are special crates that are given to you during missions. Now, when you play a particular mission, not say missions, but if you play a round of let's say team deathmatch or domination and so forth, playing a match, at certain points you will be awarded a supply drop. Now I'm not too sure exactly what triggers it, but I've noticed it happening when I'm killed by a particular player, or if I kill a particular player. And it's not known to me who this player is, but it seems to happen just once in a round. So, but of course it could be entirely random, I could be completely wrong, but these are the times I've noticed it happening. It's just in sync with when I get a particular kill, or if I get killed by somebody. Either way, these are given to you after the end of the match, and when you open them, you have a few items that come out. Now, weapons are one of them, the other is clothing. So, weapons themselves come from a few different variants. There is Enlisted, Professional, and Elite. These are ranks of rarity. So, Enlisted is the lowest rarity and Elite is the highest. And they're all signified by different colors. So if I go to show you in the armory right now, all of these green ones are Enlisted levels, and all these blue ones are Professional, and the Elite ones are brown, or bronze, if you want to call it that. So all of these are actually side grades, so for the most part it seems to be side grades. So for example, the SN6, I've got 3 different variants of it. The first one, the hammer, has 1 extra point of damage, but it loses 2 rounds in its magazine. So all of these are side grades. So you can see as we go along, for every up there's also a down. So in this case, I've got 1 more point of damage, and 1 more point of handling, but I've lost 2 points of range. And so on, it goes on. And every other weapon is the same. Everything seems to have a downside to it. In other cases as well, for example, this bulldog, it gives you 1 more point of accuracy. There doesn't seem to be a downside until you notice that there's an image of a target enhancer sight on this weapon, and that's a permanently attached sight. So that means you can only add 1 more attachment to this weapon. So actually it's a pretty big downside to the weapon. To have 1 slot already used up, and it might not be an attachment you want to use. For example, I don't really use a lot of sights. I use mostly iron sights. As you'll see in the gameplay videos later on, I use mostly iron sights. I don't really like a lot of red dots and stuff. And all of these, and these are given to you as you progress throughout the game and unlock different weapons. You get all of these particular different weapon variants. So now you might be thinking, oh, so this is what replaced oh, actually, before I forget, these are items that you can also redeem for XP. So, for example, I have 2 Mark 14 Sports over here. I've only just noticed this. I can actually get rid of one of these and get XP for it. So if I hit F2, it's a weird button to use, F2, I can actually redeem this for 500 XP. So you can see I'm at rank 50 down here, and I can gain 500 XP for redeeming it. Now, it's not a lot, but, you know, I don't need 2 of these. So I can just get rid of one. It'll permanently delete it from your armory, and it'll give you 500 XP points. Makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, so these are the different weapons. Now, next thing I'm going to show you is the actual skins, if you will. So over here we've got 4 different outfits. I've customized a few of these, and this is the outfit I'm currently using. Now, first things first, this game, just like Call of Duty Ghosts, allows you to have a female character, and props to the Sledgehammer and Call of Duty team. They have done it really well. It's not something I want to harp on too much, but they have done an excellent job on the way women are portrayed in this game, because they are soldiers just like the rest, and they are dressed appropriately. So you're not going to see any high-heeled boots here or anything. You're going to see the same boots that all of the others use, and these are all unisex. So if I was to change over to a male character now, you can see there's barely any difference in the character. You might be thinking, oh, it's all homogenized now and all that. Oh, everyone's the same. Well, they kind of would be if they were in uniform. So, so here we have a few different slots. I'm going to actually get rid of the helmet, it's not really a helmet, it's a mask, because that doesn't allow us to use eyewear for whatever reason. So we've got 2 that are given to us by default. I haven't unlocked any more of these, because I haven't seemed to find any. I wonder if eyewear is actually a limited thing. It would be, considering some of the helmets actually don't have space for it, like this one. Yeah. I don't see any need for eyewear with that one. And, or this one. So, yeah, there's a lot of different variations. Loadouts are your vests, so there's all different vests that you can use. All of these are of different rarities as well. And they all seem to be part of different sets as well. So if you want, you can go on a collect them all kind of thing. And try to collect all the different sets. And there's shirts as well. All different types of shirts. And these are visible in the game. You know, they're not just for show here. You can see them in the game. And even when when your character's holding a weapon, you can see their wrist and you can see their gloves and stuff. You can see all the things up close. Very nice. It's a very nice amount of detail. I've got these Sentinel gloves on because, these medic gloves rather, because they've got little blood stains and stuff on them, which is pretty cool. And all the different pants as well. Yesterday I got a little bit of sidetrack, but I just got a lot of pants dropping yesterday. Not a euphemism, by the way. There were literally just a lot of pants in the supply drop, so, you know, lots of pants dropping. Go figure why that happened. But yes, so then there's knee pads, and then there's boots, and then there's the exoskeleton, which is this thingy on the back, which is part of what makes the multiplayer so different. Now, these things are how you run infinitely, run faster, jump, and jetpack around. They're basically little jump packs. I wouldn't call them exactly jetpacks, but they do allow a lot of mobility, and it does help the multiplayer to be a lot different. So you've got all sorts. You've got this sort of gaudy gold-looking thing, down to something that looks like it would be at home in Borderlands, or something that looks like it's, I suppose, out of Star Wars. Actually, it's kind of Star Warsy colours. But yes, so there's a lot of different variations. Of course, some might call my particular style boring. I prefer the idea of a more tactical-looking outfit where it'd actually probably work. So that's my particular style. And of course, you can save all of these and make different ones your defaults. It's all up to you how you want to do it. So if I want a more Army Rangers type look, I can go with that, or if I want more of a paramilitary look, there it is. So that's the different customization options. Clans are built in already. You know, we've got the Church of Gaben going on down here. Thank you very much to Dragast. Shout out to Dragast over there for creating this. If you want to join, just look for Church of Gaben. I don't know how you apply. I think you've got to go through some sort of Call of Duty app or something that they've actually put out for smartphones. So, yeah. Good luck to anybody who doesn't have a smartphone then. But yes. So, now you're probably wanting to see more or less what the gameplay is like. So, without further ado, here's some gameplay. And here we go. So, first match in this is actually a team deathmatch, and apologies if my commentary suffers or the gameplay suffers as a result, because this is a very fast-paced game. It always has been. This is Call of Duty after all, and commentary is not something that's going to be very particularly easy. So, you might have noticed, okay, what was that? You just sort of hopped up into the air just then. That is actually the jump pack, or rather the exo boost ability, where you can actually jump up into the air like this. It seems very simple. It's like, oh, so they've done the whole Titanfall thing where you can do double jumps. Not quite. God damn it. Not quite the same as the Titanfall double jumps. In fact, there's no wall running or parkour of any sorts in this game. Damn it. There's no parkour of any sorts in this game. It's more a case of... That was weird. More of a case of, okay, you can reach greater heights. So you can access places that would otherwise be inaccessible to the typical COD soldier, if you want to call it that. So I can actually get up to particular places that, oops, if I aim correctly, that would normally be inaccessible. So that could be a pretty big advantage. The only thing about that, can't go there, is that it affects the I suppose there's a balancing factor. So every time I fire this off, there's a little pulse on the map, which can be visible to everybody. Anyone on the actual map can see these little pulsing rings, and that is actually... How did I not see him? That is actually one of the ways of detecting anybody using an XO ability. There's also dodge. You can dodge to the left and right. And that is a dubstep punch. And basically there's a lot more mobility than what you'd expect in a normal Call of Duty game. And that is one of the biggest game changers, simply because there's so much more mobility, the time to kill is now a lot higher. So I can actually bob and weave and get out of the way of a lot of different shots. That wasn't supposed to be an easy shot. That would otherwise cause me to get killed in a typical game. And now there's other abilities as well, like you've just noticed there. I don't know if you actually saw him, but he was cloaking and was expecting me not to see him. Sorry, I played a bit of Titanfall and I do actually know how to spot cloakers. But there we go, there's all sorts of different abilities. So if I hit Q now, I have an ability called Overclock, which allows me to run faster. This is actually a loadout that I made specifically to run fast. And it even includes a perk that lets me shoot while sprinting. And that was a miss. Okay, so next thing you're probably wondering is like, oh, is there Last Stand? Is there Martyrdom? Is there any of that nonsense that was in the original Modern Warfare? And no, there isn't. None of that. I know it hasn't been around for a lot of different games, but they also saw fit not to bring it back, with good reason. So, I'm actually trying to get out of the way because I'm getting hit a lot. Oh, and there's also a slide move, which is pretty cool. But the rest of it is exactly what you expect from a Call of Duty game. There's all the different challenges, there's all the different attachments to unlock. If I have one or two qualms about the game is that it makes you have to do the challenges to unlock the different sites and stuff, and frankly I'm not sure I agree with that system, because I prefer the Black Ops way of doing it and just letting you spend points to unlock them, which was a much better system. It allowed you to unlock things based on preference rather than a sort of arbitrary skill challenge, which didn't make much sense anyway. For example, there are some weapons that I would never use in a particular way. This particular gun is sort of an MP5 kind of clone. I would never use this for aiming down sights mainly, because you can see I'm hip firing a lot. I don't see that I would need to do ADS kills to get a particular sight if I wanted it. Like, that doesn't make sense because I don't use this gun for that anyway. But then you could say, oh, why would you need the sight if, you know, you don't ADS at all? And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of different arguments that could be made, but point is, I'd rather just allow my time in the game, or my direct score, to allow me to unlock things rather than have to complete a challenge in order to get every single one. It just seems needlessly sort of busy work, really. Or at least it feels a lot like busy work. Jeez. Not even going to look at the score right now, because I'm probably doing really, really badly. Also, apologies if you're getting a lot of dizziness from watching this, but this is how fast the game is played. But, you know, good job that YouTube has 60 frames per second now, because you would not be able to see this at 30, definitely. So we won that. And it allows me a little bit of a breather to explain more about how the mobility affects the game. So, as I said, a lot of dodging and a lot of movement. And you can see a lot of in this kill cam especially, there was no space for him to maneuver, and if he'd had a chance to dodge to the left, that would have thrown off the aim quite a bit. It does actually make a lot of difference with this game. See, in the past, it would be a case of who fired first. Who fired first, who fired the most bullets, and who fired the most accurately. Those are the three things that typically affect outcomes in a one-on-one in any first-person shooter. But in the previous Modern Warfare games, it was who fired first, because if you couldn't get out of the way in time. When you got hit, you'd slow down a little bit and so on, and it was just a matter of getting trapped till you die. In this case though, as soon as you see another player, you can instinctively dodge to the left or right, or you can jump, and in some cases I've been in duels where we're jetpacking all over the place trying to hit each other, and it looks really nice. It is actually a lot of fun, and it comes down to it's almost like fighter planes trying to get a good angle on each other, and that's really how it plays. It's a lot more. It's as much vertical as it is horizontal movement. So the next thing is, well, then how does... Actually, I do want to show you some of the other hopefully show you some of the other game modes to see if we can find a domination game. Unfortunately, I haven't had much luck finding a lot of players playing some of the other game modes that I enjoyed. I would like to try Play Kill Confirmed, but I don't think anyone's playing that, unfortunately. Ground War? No. It's quite unfortunate. I did find a group playing Uplink before, which was interesting. But I think Team Deathmatch is probably our only choice in this case. See, there's 8 games on this and no one else playing all the rest. Right, so the maps themselves. I want to talk about the maps because the maps are quite interesting. Now, people will be like, oh, there's Levolution in this game, you know, there's stuff happening and all that. There's scripted events in the game, right? This particular map we're about to load up is called Recovery, and this map is a sort of scientific facility on the edge of a volcano. And it's an active volcano, so about midway through the match, the volcano will erupt and there'll be rocks falling over the place, which can kill you, I think, although I've never been hit by one. But it causes another area of the map to open up, and everyone has to transition to the other area, and then the doors close, and then it's a whole new ball game in a different area. Very nice, actually. I quite like that happens. It's not, to be frank, Battlefield's Levolution sort of system wasn't really a thing that needed to be hyped up so much, frankly, because it's scripted events that could have happened in any other game, and here they've done it quite well too. Now you might have noticed just then something popped out of my wrist there, and that's the new way of launching grenades. Ah, wasn't able to get him. So I can actually choose from a variety of grenades. Currently I'm using the Semtex, which works exactly how it used to in the old games. Fire it and it should stick to the ground or wall or person or, you know, whatever you manage to hit with it. And it still has a very small blast radius. The frag grenade, of course, being more powerful, but it does bounce. And you can still cook them, you can still, you know, hold on to the fuse and let it burn for a while before firing it off. So, yeah, a lot of stuff still works the same. The only thing I'd say is that the perks work slightly differently, so you definitely would have to replan loadouts if you played this sort of game before. Alright, so the volcano has just erupted. You'll see a lot of smoke on this side. We try to get over here and have a look. So you can see a lot of smoke and a lot of rocks popping up. It doesn't look that great, if I'm honest. It really doesn't look fantastic, but the doors have actually opened up. Now, I wasn't kidding. The doors actually open up, and we now have this other area to go to. So this new area over here is a whole different ball game. It's got grass, it's got a cliff on one side. There's a lot more jumping around and a lot more debris to hide behind. So as in comparison to the previous area, it is actually a little bit more, I suppose, less organized. The other one was a bit more, okay, this is a facility, it's got roads, it's got buildings in particular places, but this is sort of like, oh, there's containers and stuff, and there's sort of ramps and all that, and it's definitely less, there's a flow to it that's a lot more, the word I'm looking for is messy, I suppose, than the other area, which is quite nice. It's a very nice contrast, and definitely a lot of fun to play on. And I think just in case I die this round, I'm gonna quickly switch over to a different loadout, because I do want to show you some of the energy weapons, because of course energy weapons are cool, and that's the in thing in this one. So what I'm actually going to show you now is the TAC-19, which is, it's in the shotguns slot, but it's not a shotgun in the traditional sense. And what I mean by that is that it is a dubstep gun. And unfortunately these matches are over so quickly I can't explain things in a very clear way, but basically it fires a blast of directed energy, and as you can see, this other person here is using it, and it's quite deadly at close range. In fact, it can hit you. It can kill you in one hit if the main blast hits you. Normally, the thing is, it is in the traditional sense, it is a shotgun. Actually, it works the same way. It's just that you wouldn't expect it to because it doesn't look the same. It's got this sort of blast wave effect that comes out. So predicting where the shots are is something that takes a bit of getting used to. But otherwise, it is mechanically anyway still a traditional shotgun. But just that's an idea of what the energy weapons are like. Now I'm gonna try and get into one more match. We do have 30 seconds to wait though, so I'm gonna cut here and then we'll start when the next match starts. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're back and the game is about to begin. We're now heading onto a match, a map called Riot. No affiliation, of course, to League of Legends. This is actually set in, I believe, an Iraqi prison. So, or if you're an American anyway, it's an Iraqi prison? But either way, it is a prison complex which is bombarded quite heavily, and of course set in the future, so you can see in the splash screen behind me, there's all these sort of little medical information on the doors and stuff like that. It's quite futuristic, but at the same time very old. It's like as though a really old prison was upgraded, and I think that's what they were going for. What I'm going to do with this match as well is I'm going to show you the direct energy weapons, or in other words, the laser guns. I'm actually going to show you at least one of the laser guns that you can get right at the beginning, actually, if I'm not wrong. So here we have the EM1, and this is a skin that I've got called the LEL. I'm not sure what that means, but you know. So what it does is this. Yes, it fires a burst of laser beam, which didn't save me from the gunfire just then. No, it didn't. So this gun has no ammo. As you can see in the bottom right over there, there is no ammo count. And I'm not very good at using this. This is actually probably my second time ever using this weapon, so bear with me if I'm terrible at it. And reloading, actually all it does is open the heatsink out, which makes you unable to fire for a period of time, but it does cool it off so that you can use it again. So of course on the bottom right, what actually it displays is a heat level rather than... I was not expecting that. Rather than an ammo counter. So you can see it actually builds up to a point where it will overheat. And it actually makes a sound. So when it's, of course, reaching the danger level, it actually has a, I suppose, more whine to it. A more pronounced sound. I'm not too sure. But so far as I can tell, it does less damage per hit. The thing is, because it's a constant stream, it's... any enemy that cuts in front of your line of fire actually gets hit too. So you could actually close an entire corridor with this thing, potentially. Of course, I could be entirely wrong about this, and most of the Call of Duty fans are going to hate me, but... oh well. So, this is essentially what it is. I suppose it'd be quite fun using this, but it does take a bit of getting used to, especially because the sights are like that. It's not the most useful of sights, although it is pretty much pinpoint accurate, because, I mean, it is a laser. It doesn't seem to have much of a spread to it. Although it does have recoil, I will say that. It's pulling up to the... it's pulling upwards and to the left at the moment, so... I'm not sure if this is the same for all of the other laser weapons, but, you know, it's definitely something that could be constant throughout all the different weapons, who knows. I will say something though, that the gunplay itself in this particular installment of the game is quite good actually, compared to a lot of the, and yeah, a lot of Call of Duty fans are going to hate me for saying this, but a lot of the previous titles lacked very satisfying gameplay, and I think the reason was because maybe it was designed as a console shooter. That's probably one of the key reasons, if not the main reason, why it was the way it was. But in this, there's a lot less in terms of cone of fire bloom. Like, all the weapons have their base accuracy, and they don't bloom all that much more than their base. But what actually happens is the game actually now has proper recoil, and that's not to say that previous titles had no recoil at all, no, but it wasn't as noticeable as in games, for example, like Counter-Strike, or even in Battlefield. The vertical recoil or horizontal recoil effect wasn't as pronounced. In this, however, I find myself having to compensate for recoil a lot more than I would have actually expected to. And having played games like Black Ops, Modern Warfare 2, a bit of Modern Warfare 3 as well, I found one of the things that was lacking was actual recoil compensation being a major factor. This, however, it is. The weapons have a satisfying kick to them. Even these energy weapons, which you wouldn't expect to have any recoil at all, also have some sort of decent amount of kick to them. And these, basically all the guns, even the pistols have, oh, this is not a pistol, but these also have a certain amount of recoil to them. And I find myself just instinctively just pulling back on them when I need to, which is quite nice actually. So all in all, good gunplay. And the game doesn't look bad. I mean, okay, sometimes, yeah, these textures aren't the highest res, and these are at high resolution. There are some instances where the textures fail to load at full, and I'm not sure exactly why that is. It could be a RAM problem, maybe I don't have enough video memory. I'm not sure what the reason is, but they don't seem to load fully in some cases. I've had other people just have textures fail to load at anything higher than the lowest resolution, and it was quite bad to look at, honestly. But that being said, graphically anyway, the game is not bad. There is a certain amount of detail to it. Obviously, environmental textures are suffering quite severely, but the gun textures, the player models and stuff, that's all very nicely detailed. And everything has, the lighting effects as well are very, very good. Like you can see as I'm walking through the shadows and light here, it's all reflecting on the gun very, very nicely. Everything reflects the way you'd expect the material should. Earlier on I was using a carbon fiber KF5 and it was reflecting exactly how carbon fiber really does. I don't know if you've ever seen carbon fiber before, but it has a particular way of reflecting. And basically they've done a very good job on it visually, and I'm glad to say that Call of Duty Advanced Warfare is a title that has succeeded not just in the style, but in the substance as well. This is definitely a game that I can rank up there, finally, as being a competent shooter among the rest of things like Counter-Strike, to a certain degree Battlefield, and quite a lot of other titles that I've played recently as well, things like PlanetSide. So I would say that the shooting mechanics in this are definitely very satisfying. It's a game that I suppose I could play semi-seriously even. After all, I have spent the last 2 days playing this, and I've not at once found myself getting bored of it, even after having to play the same modes over and over. It has been quite satisfying getting there, and of course, after 32 hours I'm thinking, I'll probably have to go back into it and continue on to the prestige levels, just for the hell of it. So, is it any good? It's got good graphics to a certain degree. I do admit that in certain places the textures aren't the best, but graphically it doesn't look that bad. And the gunplay and the overall gameplay mechanics are very, very good as well. There are some things I would admit that need to be tweaked. Probably, I think some of the energy weapons might be a little overpowered. Like, I was using that gun for the first time essentially, and I was getting kills left, right and center. I'm not sure if that makes it maybe newbie friendly, or maybe it's just, maybe it's a bit too powerful. I'm not too sure yet on that one. But the core gameplay is same old COD, but with a twist. It's added this new mobility mechanic, which serves as a very good equalizer to the way that we've been playing Call of Duty in the past. Definitely a stark contrast from Black Ops and Modern Warfare 2. The time to kill is a lot longer, mainly because people can dodge and move and a lot more, and the ranges especially. The maps don't feel as claustrophobic as they used to. Admittedly, there are some tight corners, and I do find myself getting turned around because the people are all up in your face. But the maps themselves have a decent amount of range to them, and if you're one person who enjoys sniping a lot, you're going to enjoy a much longer range to work with too. There's some close range and there's some long range, but thankfully it's all not so claustrophobic. So I'm glad that the maps are designed that way. Overall, it's done it very well. And it makes it very satisfying to keep playing. And I think I just might do that. So, you know what? Let's leave this one running as the last match, and we'll see how we go from there. And I'll see you guys next time.